Hey everyone, it's Joe here, and today I thought I'd make this quick video in the kitchen here to show you what portion sizes actually look like when we're talking about calories, because research shows convincingly that we all tend to underestimate and underreport how much we eat and how many calories we eat. So I've dug out this little kitchen scale here, which measures the weight of food, so you can actually see for sure how large that serving size is. Now, I'm going to show you some of the commonly consumed foods that we have and how much it looks like, and then tell you how many calories they are. It's really good because when we eyeball things and we kind of just look and guess, we almost always underestimate. And you don't need one of these scales at all. If you already have one, then it can be fun to just measure a couple things, a few times, just to see, how big the portion actually is, rather than just guessing. But you certainly don't need to get one if you don't have one, because I'm going to show you some of the more popular foods that people eat right now. So first up is some meatballs that I found in the freezer. So let me show you them. Here they are, like this. It's just 4 meatballs there. So the way I do it, I'll just run through it in this first one, is that I would weigh the bowl empty, and then it's 300 grams, and then I would tare it. I think it's called tare, T-A-R-E, and it resets it to 0. Now I can add these. So the meatballs are 48 grams. And that makes it really easy, actually, because on the packet here, they always show per 100 grams. I'll show per, typically they'll show per serving, which is whatever number they decide is in a serving. So per 100 grams, let me just try to line this up here. I don't know if that's going to work. Yeah, so per 100 grams is a black column at the top. It's energy, it shows kilojoules, and then it shows calories next to it. So 100 grams is 210 calories, I can see here. And this was about 50 grams. So I know that this here is about 105 calories. And you can see that that's quite calorie dense, because meatballs are typically, there's a lot of fat in meat. They're not just strictly the meat only. There's a lot of oil in here as well that's added. And that's why they taste so delicious. But this is a general rule of thumb for any kind of meat. So this kind of portion here that you see, kind of the palm of your hand, not even. This kind of portion is already 105 calories. If it's a lean meat, like for example just the chicken breast, or just fish, then the calories will be slightly less because it doesn't have the oil added. Because this is kind of I would call this a processed food, because it has lots of other things added. The meat, meat doesn't look like that, doesn't come like that naturally. That's why this is already 105 calories. So if you were to eat 8 meatballs, then you would be at 210 calories. Okay, so next up I have tuna, which I put in this bowl here. Now this is 100 grams exactly, which I should add is just slightly over 3 ounces. 3 ounces is 86 grams, I think. Depends on what you're measuring, but essentially it looks like that. So it's, it's enough to go on sort of one piece of bread or something. It's pretty solid amount. But this is 186 calories. So this is in oil, tuna in oil. It's almost 200 calories, and that's kind of what it looks like. If you have tuna in spring water, then you can minus about 50 calories. So it's about 130 something calories for the same amount. So that's a small swap there that saves 50 calories. I personally prefer tuna in oil though, or if I get it in water, then I'll add just a tiny bit of oil myself, which is still a lot less oil than they use in the tin. So next up, this is like a Thousand Island dressing. It's between 9 to 10 grams. It's kind of fluctuating a little bit. It's about 10 grams. So this is about 2 teaspoons, and this is the amount that someone might normally put on a salad or something like that. And it's almost 30 calories. It's like 25 to 30 calories. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to do a serving of tomato sauce or ketchup. So there, that's 10 grams. And I would say that most people normally have a lot more than that, 3 or 4 times more with their food. And so ketchup or tomato sauce is a lot less calorie dense than, say, the Thousand Island dressing because it has a lot less oil in it. So this 10 grams would be about 10 calories. Most people would have more than that, so you can see how it could easily add 30 or 40 calories to your meal. So next up is like a regular hard cheese. Like this. In Europe we kind of scrape it off and you put the slices, whereas in the States and Australia and stuff, typically you'd buy it already sliced, okay? Now I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but cheese is the thing that catches everyone out. So I've sliced some little bits here. You could see like that would probably be one normal slice if you bought them sliced. Well, it'd probably be that. And just to round it up, that is about 30 grams, and that's 100 calories already. So if you eat cheese sometimes or regularly, that is something you need to be aware of. Anything with cheese on it is always going to be very high in calories because cheese is so high in fat. And so that's just something to be mindful of if you're having cheese on toast or something. Even just that much that's only 50 calories, whereas if you normally pile it on like that, then you've doubled it straight away. So it can easily get away from you. Okay, on the topic of cheese, this one is going to break a few hearts, I think. So this is 30 grams of brie cheese. So first I cut off this little piece here, and it wasn't quite 30 grams. With this tiny thin one here, then we have 30 grams. That is about 105 calories. So you can imagine if you go to a party or something and there's brie cheese and you put them on a cracker, so you've got or the digestive biscuit or whatever, you've got the calories from that as well as these, and I can easily eat 5 of these or more. And that would be over 500 calories, just on a little bit of cheese, just like a snack in between meals. 500 calories is like a third of many people's daily intake. So that one, unfortunately, we have to be careful of as well. Okay, and this one is an important one, guys. Chocolate. So this is Lindt chocolate. You might be familiar with the flat one, the square. It's about the same amount as like a Cadbury or regular block of chocolate, where the squares are smaller but thicker, because these ones are thin but wide. So this amount here is about 20 grams. Now, chocolate is about 560 calories per 100 grams. So if we divide that by 5, this is about 110, 115 calories. Just that there. That's just one row of chocolate. So it'd be 4, it's equivalent to 4 like blocks if you have those other size blocks, or 2 on a Lindt row. Now, some people can eat a full block of chocolate in one sitting, and there you can easily, as you can see, you could easily get up towards 1,000 calories just eating chocolate. So just something else to think about, and I recommend dark chocolate in some of my snacks on the meal plan because people enjoy eating chocolate, and of course, as with anything I'm showing you here, it can fit into your diet and be part of a healthy diet and in line with your weight loss goals. We just need to be mindful of how much we're having and things like that. Now, also I recommend dark chocolate because not that it's lower in calories than milk chocolate. All chocolate is about the same in calories. But it has less sugar. It has more cocoa. So the thing is, it's less moreish than milk chocolate. Typically, you can't eat as much dark chocolate as you can milk chocolate because of the cocoa. The cocoa is slightly bitter. So that's why, basically, you still get the chocolate texture and you're still eating chocolate. You're eating, well, dark chocolate is more of a chocolate than milk chocolate, right? Because it's got more cocoa in it. That's what chocolate is. So you're still getting the chocolate hit, but typically you can't eat as much. That's why I recommend 85 or 90% cocoa dark chocolate. Now, I think if it's 55% cocoa or more, then it can be classified as dark chocolate on the packet, and that's basically just a milk chocolate. So 75% is kind of getting there, but really 85% and 90% plus cocoa, it'll say it on the packet, that is actually a true dark chocolate. That is what you want to get acquired to eating, like customize your taste to that type of chocolate, because it's so bitter you can't eat a lot of it, but you still feel satisfied after it. And even if you don't particularly like it at the moment, it takes about 6 weeks for your taste buds to adjust. It will grow on you. You will start to like very dark chocolate as well. Okay, so the next group of foods I want to look at quickly is the starchy carbs. It's really important because this is something that people really underestimate. Okay, so this weight here, so this is a bowl of pasta here. Can you guess how many calories this is? It's not much. Yeah, it sits in my hand here like this. So it's just a handful of, this is an easy way to measure it. It's a handful of dry pasta. So it's just shy of 30 grams. It's about 30 grams, and that's actually about 110 calories. Now, obviously, when you cook it, it becomes a lot, much bigger than this, but it's still not a lot. And you can imagine people, when they eat pasta, they also have meat, they have lots of sauce, they might have cheese, they might have some other things in there. And they'd eat, people can eat easy 4 or 5 times that. And then you're looking at a 1,000-calorie meal. Easy, 500 of those calories coming just from the pasta, which is, it's not very nutrient dense. There's not much here to it. If you are going to eat this, I definitely recommend brown pasta or high fiber varieties. So they're more filling, at least they're more nutritious for what they are, because they are quite costly when it comes to the calories. Now the same goes for spaghetti, or this is, I think this is called tagliatelle, but basically the same as a stringy spaghetti. So if we just clear this, this is about 25 grams, and it's the same as the other pasta. It's basically 100 calories, just that. That's wrapped up. So that makes, a small portion. No one eats portions like that. Everyone eats bigger portions. And imagine if you go out to a restaurant, the size that you get there. This is why eating at restaurants makes it so much harder to stay within a calorie deficit. So the reason is that with these starchy carbs, they're pretty much just carbohydrate and nothing else, but they're refined. So the wheat and the flour has been refined and squashed into this. That's why they're quite calorie dense. And they were a good choice back in the days, 50 years ago or so, 100 years ago and so on, when food wasn't we didn't have so much junk food around. Then calories were important then. And typically were eaten by people who were like working on farms and things, so they were very active lifestyles. They needed the energy. And the last one in this group is, of course, rice. Hopefully you can see that here. So it's not a lot of rice here. I'll just tear this bowl again. It's the same bowl. So now with rice and pasta and all that, they're all just carbohydrate. They have a tiny bit of protein in them and no fat. So we know that carbs are 4 calories per gram, and this is 30 grams of rice. So it's also going to be about the same. It's slightly over 100 calories just for this. Now, when you cook rice, of course, this becomes much greater. So it would be like a proper portion on a plate like that. That's 100 calories. And, people typically eat look, we eat a lot more rice than that in standard meals, and especially if you get takeaway Chinese or something like that. So that's something to think about as well. This is why these kind of starches and things shouldn't be the staple of your meal. They can be part of the meal, but a high protein or a high fiber like vegetables or some sort of protein source should be the main part of your meal, because that's more filling and more nutritious than having this as the base part of your meal. Another thing that's really important that we often underestimate is nuts. Okay, so and nuts are very calorie dense. I think 100 grams of this is about 700 calories. And they're really, don't get me wrong, they're really good for you because they're so nutritious. They're a whole food. So many nutrients in here, micronutrients that we need, like vitamins and minerals and things. Also high in protein, high in fiber, really good for you, very high in calories. So if weight loss is a goal, then we need to be particularly careful about them because they are a very healthy snack, however, a high calorie snack. So there's a bit of a balancing act here. So if I just reset this, you can see this is a small handful, yeah? Or like it's a handful. I'm just going to tear that, put them on here, and it reads at 18 grams. Now, if 100 grams is, so 1/5 of 700 calories. What's that? So 5 times 14 is 50, 20, 70, 700. So this is 140 calories. This tiny amount of nuts here. So that's why I say, if you're having a snack like in between meals, you definitely cannot have more than 2 of these small handfuls or 30 grams, because 30 grams is 250 to 300 calories, which is pretty substantial for a snack if you were to compare it to fruit or something. So just something to think about there. You can't just have a bag of these with you and carry them around with you and just pull from the bag, because every time you pull a handful from here, you're having 100, 120, 140 calories just like that. So just something to be mindful of with the nuts as well. Otherwise, they are very nutritious and they're really good for you. And last but not least, I wanted to include a spread, the highest calorie spread, and that is peanut butter. Now, the peanut butter that I buy and recommend is like actual peanut butter. It's crushed nuts and a tiny bit of salt. It's typically, this bottle is 99.3% peanuts and 0.7% salt. That's it. And in this instance, it's very high in protein and high in all the vitamins and minerals that peanuts have. So it's a good choice, just like nuts, but because it is a nut, it's also very high in calories. So this is about 19 grams, it says here. And these are peanut butter is about 600 calories per 100 grams. So this is about 100 calories, just like that. And you can see that if I was to spread that out on a piece of toast or something, it would be quite thin. It's still enough, but a lot of people would spread a lot more of that or have a lot more than that in one serving. You have to be mindful that that itself is 100 calories. The reason because it's only peanuts, it's very firm. So a lot of people will buy, and especially in the States, or even in Australia actually, peanut butter is the peanut butter you buy is 75% peanuts and about 24% oil. So they add oil to make it smooth. So at room temperature, it's more of a liquid. But all that is just oil, literally mixing oil in the bottle, which of course there's no calories there's no nutrients in the oil, just calories. So chances are it's slightly higher in calories than this, because this has a lot of protein in it. That's why it's thick and solid. So even normal peanut butter would be higher than this. It'd be 120, 130 calories for this amount. Normal peanut butter being the the junk peanut butter that people normally buy that spreads really easily. So just something to think about there if you're using peanut butter. But if you're aware of the portion size, then it's high in protein, it's high in nutrients, and it's a better choice than, say, jam, which is just a sugar spread. Even though that jam will be low in calories, but you don't get any protein or fiber or nutrients from it. So it's a balancing act, right? We need to pick and choose where our calories are coming from. If we're going to eat calories, they should be preferably from foods that are very nutritious for us as well. Okay, so it's got a lot darker since I first began recording. Hopefully you found that useful, and it's going to help you now in the kitchen to eyeball a few things. Have a think about if you might be underestimating some of those foods that I showed you and how that might impact your overall weekly intake and what you thought was your intake.